All right, now let's practice an indirect proof, also known as a reductio ad absurdum. We have one premise. If A then B, then not C. We could also say A implies B, implies not C. And the conclusion we're after is it's not the case that C and B. All right, let's jump right into the indirect proof. What we're going to do is we're going to assume the negation of the conclusion we're after. The strategy is assume the conclusion is false and derive a contradiction. Contradictions have to be false, right? So if this assumption leads us into a contradiction, then we know that this assumption is false. And if this assumption is false, then we know that our conclusion is true. So that's the indirect proof. It's a reduction to absurdity. We take the opposite of the conclusion and we show it leads to an absurdity. So the conclusion we're after must be true. So we start with the negation of our conclusion. Looking at where this is going, I'm just going to simplify both of these out. So now we have C and we have B. We've got a couple options here. Notice we have C and we have not C as the consequence of this conditional. That means we could do modus tollens if we wanted to. I'd like to take it another direction, though. I'm going to add not A to B here. So for addition gets us not A or B. And then doing implication on that gets us if A then B. And that is the antecedent of our conditional here. So we can use modus ponens to get not C. Okay, modus ponens from here and here gets us not C. But notice, a few lines up, we already have C. So I'm just going to do conjunction 3 and 7 to get C and not C. C and not C is a contradiction. It has to be false. How do we get this falsehood? It must be the assumption we started with. All right, so we get, we move back and we conclude not C and B. It's not the case that C and B. How did we get there? We assumed C and B because we knew it's not the case that C and B was the conclusion we're after. This is the conclusion we were after. So we assumed the negation and saw that that leads to a contradiction. So this assumption, this starting place has to be false. So we're able to conclude it's not the case that C and B. From 2 through 8, indirect proof. QED.